Hello, everybody. I would like to introduce our paper entitled Supporting Intellectual Property Protection, Blockchain Technology as a Catalyst for Open Innovation. This project was conducted with my colleagues Alexander Fink, who is now with Bechtle, a multinational technology company offering IT services, Jonas Ehrnsperger, who works for Mercedes-Benz Group, and Philipp Düpree, who works for PwC in Switzerland, a leading auditing and advisory company. The context of our study is legal tech, which includes a wide range of technologies, including artificial intelligence, blockchain, and the like, tailored to address certain challenges of the legal profession or the legal system and the legal industry. Our study was built around three main topics. One was intellectual property law. A second was inter-organizational open innovation projects, in particular buyer-supplier innovation projects. And the third one was on blockchain technology. The first, intellectual property law or intellectual property rights. It's important to distinguish whether these IP rights are registrable, like patents or registered trademarks, or whether the IP rights are non-registrable. In the EU, this would be copyrights or trade secrets. A second important distinction is the type of IP that originates or is related to innovation projects. This could be background IP, that is knowledge that is supplied by the project partners before the start of the project, or foreground IP, that is knowledge that is produced throughout the project among the partners. And the goal is to generate value from IP protection or IP commercialization, which could be licensing. And our project focused on IP protection, not commercialization. The second context is inter-organizational open innovation projects. As said, we focused on mainly on projects where buyers and suppliers work together in joint innovation projects. What is a challenge of intellectual property and intellectual property protection in such open innovation projects? One important is called the information disclosure paradox, which Kenneth Arrow introduced to the literature. And it says a potential buyer of a technology needs information that describes a technology to be able to know in detail what the technology can do and accomplish and the capabilities of this technology, and then in the end to decide whether to buy the technology. Once a buyer has this detailed knowledge, however, the supplier, the seller of the technology, transferred the technology already to the buyer without any compensation. Hence, there is some protection needed, and protections could be patents, or in our case, with the support of blockchain technology to protect this IP. So our main question was, how could blockchain technology be used to potentially support organizations in IP protection, and hence, as a consequence, improve open innovation projects and the outcome of open innovation projects. So the third building block of our study was blockchain technology. Very briefly, not a technical introduction, blockchain is a distributed database where data is safely stored across a network of computers, making it basically impossible to change or manipulate. In other words, a blockchain is a digital record of a transaction that has been replicated and distributed across the blockchain's network of nodes. Some key features of blockchain technology are, for example, its decentralized nature. Hence, it is free of control of any centralized authority. immutability of the records, transparency of the records, then enhanced security. It cannot be corrupted. And in addition, increased capacity of the whole network, which one computer could not accomplish. How does blockchain-based IP protection work? It's important to have verifiable documentation of an inventive process. It is relevant to enforce IP and reduce appropriation concern related to capturing a fair share of the rents from an R&D or an open innovation collaboration. However, capturing and maintaining verifiable documentation is quite a challenge. For instance, for a certificate of possession of an IP, innovators today rely on state authorities, such as notaries or governmental IP institutions. Since applying at a notary with every new version of a IP of a file, collecting witness statements or sending a letter to is a resource-consuming and seldom feasible activity. So most innovators do not have solid documentation of their inventive progress. The hypothesis of our study was that blockchain technology can support firms in open innovation collaborations while reducing the risk of IP leakage. Encrypted files of intellectual property records could be stored securely and verifiably on a blockchain. In a blockchain transaction, which is associated with a timestamp and proof of possession of an IP, not the file containing the IP, but solely its hash value, which is a unique set of characteristics of a specific length produced by an algorithm, would be stored on the blockchain. What we did in our study, we did a thorough literature review. We conducted pre-study interviews. We did main interviews, about 20 interviews with interviewers such as founders of startup companies offering blockchain solutions, users, and lawyers. And then we collected additional sources of evidence like observations, internal reports, external reports, audios, and videos. From this, we constructed a preliminary and then a final framework. Some outcomes that we found is the use of blockchain technology in an open innovation project. In a pre-project phase, the idea submission could be supported with blockchain. So the background IP could be documented in a blockchain. The use of blockchain for IP protection could signal a protective measure in place. So that's an important signal to the other party that the company is concerned about IP protection. Blockchain could support in negotiation, in making the non-disclosure agreement more precise, and again signal that protective measures are in place. In the open innovation project, certification, versioning, sharing, accessing of IP would be again thoroughly and unverifiably documented in the blockchain. And transparent, immutable chronicle of the project would be created. The consequences are broadly four. One is reduced appropriation concerns, accelerated pre-project phases, more open IP sharing in open innovation projects, and a simplified distribution of jointly created foreground IP from the projects. It's always important to distinguish between registrable and non-registrable rights, and they are not the same in Europe and in the United States. As said, for example, copyright is non-registrable in the EU. When it comes to patents, a blockchain impact is that a chronicling the early development phase and progress with a more systematic and reliable documentation. It does not replace patent offices, but supports a potential patent application. The Blockchain can be used as evidence for prior use in case someone else holds a patent. For registered trademarks, it helps in documentation, proving the use of the trademark. For copyright, it's enhancing evidence through documentation to potentially enforce the copyright, and the same for enforcing trade secrets. When it comes to the assessment whether blockchain could or should be used for IP protection or supporting IP protection, blockchain could be more or less beneficial. So what we did in the project, we developed an evaluation matrix for companies, for organizations, to assess the benefit of blockchain for IP protection. What we show, for example, that it is more beneficial for startups as opposed to established firms. For example, what respondents told us, startups are oftentimes short of resources for IP protection, for filing of patents, and using blockchain evidence is going from having nothing in terms of IP protection to having something. That's what one of the respondents said to us. It's more beneficial for small organizations as opposed to large. It's more beneficial for organizations that have limited IP capabilities and IP protection resources. So basically the ones that don't have law departments, for them it's more beneficial. Then it's more beneficial in projects, in situations where there are frequent open innovation projects, where the relationship with the partner in an open innovation project is evolving as opposed to established for a long period of time. It's more beneficial if there is extensive background IP of the partners. It's more beneficial if there is extensive creation of foreground IP within an open innovation project. It's more beneficial for non-registrable rights as opposed to registrable rights. And the recognition of the blockchain evidence in court proceedings, if this is broad and more stringent. And this depends also on the legislation and the country where we are in. So brief summarizing the academic or research contributions. Our study adds to the research on the tension between collaboration and IP sharing on the one hand, and the need for IP protection on the other hand. It also adds a new perspective on interorganizational open innovation in firm-level collaborations and how blockchain can help to resolve the information disclosure paradox. We show that blockchain might not solve the paradox, but it may help to better manage this paradox that I described earlier. We are able to better demonstrate the different values that blockchain technology can provide and how companies should integrate blockchain technology into their overall IP strategy to protect registrable and non-registrable IP rights. The contribution from a practical or managerial perspective, our article discusses how blockchain technology can help companies in their effort to protect different types of intellectual property. For companies, using blockchain technology is signaling that protective measures are in place, and they broadcast a degree of seriousness about IP protection, which might mitigate appropriation concerns vis-a-vis the counterparty. Then we offer recommendations on how managers can use blockchain technology and derive implications for open innovation projects. And finally, the evaluation matrix helps companies to better understand and assess whether the technology is appropriate for their specific IP rights, company characteristics, and open innovation project characteristics. More broadly, our project also had the attempt to motivate that legal systems accept blockchain evidence, which we observe in companies. We also observed that initial evidence in the legal systems, for example, blockchain-related initiatives and conferences by institutions such as the European Patent Office, or case-by-case acceptance in France and Italy, or the recognition of digital signatures in the EU are examples. Overall, we hope that we have contributed to the advancement of legal tech and a more differentiated use of blockchain-based IP protection. So this was a brief summary of our study, and we hope that it is of interest to organizations, the legal system, and also blockchain service providers. Thank you very much.